Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Frank Fear. You're on Mountaineer Locker Room, and I'm here with my good friend, Mickey. It's great to see you, Mickey Plumley.
Hey, Frank. Good to see you, my friend. How's everything up in Michigan?
Doing fine, but it's cold. It was 47 this afternoon, and we're waiting for that long-awaited late spring, early summer. But at any rate, we're so sorry that we will not have Greg Christ with us tonight. He's under the weather. We wish him the best, and we'll know he'll be back with us next week. And our producer, Darren McGovern, boy, I talk about weather. He's out in Hawaii, and he can't be with us either. So it's just the two of us, but we have a great guest tonight, and we've got that incredibly important baseball series to talk about with the Mountaineers playing the Horned Frogs up in Morgantown this weekend. And you and I were talking this afternoon, the incredible excitement for that team. It's just here it is in May, and we're still talking WVU sports.
Big weekend, Frank. I tell you, there's a lot riding on the outcome of that series and whether we can overtake Kansas or not. It's going to be a real interesting weekend to watch some baseball.
That really is. And we're going to talk more about where the Mountaineers, where they are in the national scene. We're all hoping, especially with the sweep and how they do, hopefully well in the Big 12 tournament to get home regional. But we'll give a profile of where they are nationally, where that's looking at in terms of projections. And we'll talk a bit about the opposition too, the TCU Horned Frogs. Very interesting team, up and down, but a lot of talent. But before we do that, we're going to bring our guest tonight. And, to introduce him, I want to say this, Mickey. You and I are talking about this. We can talk about nil all we want. We can talk about whether WVU should be in the ACC, blah, blah, blah. But, I don't care what year it is, what era. Everybody loves a good sports story. And our guest tonight, Don Stemple, a guy who went from walk-on to the defensive player of the game in a bowl game against the Florida Gators. You can't get any better than that. You're breaking up there, Mickey. You came back, and let's bring our guest, Don, into the studio. There he is. Welcome, Don.
Hi, Frank. Hi, Mickey.
Hey, welcome to the show, Don. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's an honor, really. And I was talking about that story, and if what we read is true, you came to WVU back in the late 70s. Frank Signetti was the coach as a walk-on, even though you played for one heck of a high school football team. If we're not mistaken, they won the state championship. So take us back to that point, and if what I said is true, why you decided to walk on at WVU.
Okay. Yeah, that was a great experience. The Parkersburg area at that time, it was just a bustling time. The industry was going strong and everything, and we had 750 in our graduating class, that near that number. And and there was very competitive as far as athletes in the area. So in junior high, I grew up in Vienna, and Vienna was a big bustling area too. And so it's very competitive, and I was kind of small in junior high, so I didn't start in junior high, and I always wanted to be a running back when I was young, and my ninth grade year, I decided I kind of liked to hit, so that was my kind of got me going there, and I had a growth spurt in ninth grade. And so when I got to high school, I got to start for the JV team as a defensive back, and I've played a little bit of running back my JV year, but then after that I started in the backfield my junior and senior year for the Big Reds. And I think on our championship team, we had, I think we recorded 8 shutouts that year. Every spot on the team filled with a very talented players. We had, I think, if I count correctly, we had 8 players from that team go on and play Division One football. 2 of them went to Ohio State. We had the two Phillips brothers, Dave and Larry Phillips. Dave was my age. Larry, he was a year behind, but they both were Hunt Award winners, which goes now. It's called the Joe Steinhauer Award, I believe, for the best interior lineman. And so they both got scholarships to Ohio State, and so I was surrounded by a lot of good players, and I really wasn't a star player in high school at all. We had, like I say, we had a lot of good players. So, but that was winning the championship. We played Fulton Walker's team in the playoffs. So Danny took 4. We were very fortunate to make the playoffs. We lost 2 games that year, and all these things had to happen for us to make the playoffs, and we did. And then we ended up playing Fulton Walker's team in the first round of playoffs, and we were fortunate enough we beat them 38-0, and then we went on to the championship and beat DuPont High School 30.
Cool.
So we said really good bunch of guys, and that was a great experience for me. So deciding to where I wanted to go play in college. I had my 2 best friends were going to Virginia Tech, and that was kind of out of the question. I had some other friends going to Marshall. Looked at that a little bit, but my older brother, he had gone to WU, and he was an engineer, and I was good at math and science, and so that was about the only engineering school in the state to really go to. So, and it made sense, that we were at the same school. So, so I decided I would go to WU as well. And so when I got there that fall, I went and talked to him when I got there and said I'd like to play. And they said, well, we're all filled up right now with players, so why don't you come back in the spring? So so that's what I did. I went and lifted weights. I lived downtown at one of the dorms with my brother, and lifted weights in the basement of Desmond Hall, and got my bench press up to over 300 pounds, and run sprints. My brother timing me in sprints on the old Mountaineer field. So I was working on it, trying to get ready for that tryout in the spring. So so that was a long wait, and I was when I tried out, Nick Saban was the defensive back coach, so I was trying out for him, and I guess he saw enough from how I moved before I ran the 40-yard dash, because when I ran the 40-yard dash, I pulled a hamstring. So so I think after that, I was kind of looked like I was slow that spring because I had a pulled hamstring. So I really kind of got labeled as slow, I think, which I never was real fast to begin with. But that was some things I remember from that spring. I remember, you all remember Steve Lewis, receiver?
Sure.
Yeah.
I remember him making me look real bad with a post corner in practice. It's probably not the only one he made look silly with a post corner and other patterns. So I remember that. That was memorable. And I remember they had a runoff for the fastest 40-yard dash on the team, and it was between Robert Alexander and Delbert Fowler, and Robert beat him by a hair. And those tells you what kind of athletes those guys were. But that was a memorable thing for me. And another thing I remember is the spring game that year. The the current team scrimmaged against the alumni.
Wow.
That was kind of unheard of, and I can't believe they did it with all the and everything. But I think that wasn't uncommon back then. Just try to get interest from the fans for the spring game. But I think I remember. I think Garrett Ford played in that game. I think
boy.
Steve Dunlap. I don't know how many tackles he made in that game, but that was very, very interesting. So that was some things I remember from that first spring. I know we got a T-shirt that back then we practiced 20 practices in the spring, and had a T-shirt that said "I hit for 20." So I wore that T-shirt until it wore out finally, and but that's some of the things I kind of remember. But that was a good start, and then so I came back. My first fall football was my sophomore year. So back then they didn't have the walk-ons report until school started. So I reported when school started, and my locker wasn't in the regular locker room with the rest of the players. I had to go through this door and up underneath the stands in the stadium. It was concrete all around. There was metal lockers, and I was up there with the equipment managers, and so that was kind of a humble start there. Got used cleats from somebody else, and socks that hoping they would stay up, but that was very humble beginning. But I remember one experience that fall is they had picture day, and they said everybody's supposed to show up this time for pictures. So I go and I report there, and they asked me what I was doing there, and they said everybody's supposed to show up for pictures, and I was told that everybody doesn't mean everybody. So that was thing I remember. But one fortunate thing we had back then is they had JV games. We had 3 JV games that fall. One against Wake Forest, and we had one against Potomac State, and the other one was against Pitt. And so the first one against Wake Forest, we met them at Concord College and played them there, met them halfway. And I think I hadn't played football for about 2 years then, and I think I was anxious to play. And I think the other team, I played strong safety. I think they ran to the strong side about every time, and I don't think they ever had anybody blocking me. So I think I made between 15 and 20 tackles, I think, that game. And I have a little memento from that game. Hit somebody in the thigh pad. So
still there.
Still there. But I remember when I got back the next day, I remember Coach Saban said, I heard you had a good game. So I was hoping that would change my status, because I was just playing the scout squad, and but it didn't really change anything. So, but I was first year player, so that's understandable. So, but we like I say, we had a couple other games, JV games, enjoyed playing those. And then late in the year, didn't have a good. The varsity didn't have a good season that year. That was 1978. We ended up 2-9, and but the receiver coach, his name was Dick Rader, and he was also a special teams coach, and he liked how I played against his receivers. So he put me on the kickoff return team for the last couple games of the season. So one of the games was against Pitt. So I got to travel to Pitt for an away game up there. And I remember in that game, I think we actually took the lead at the beginning of the game, and we were flying high on the sidelines, and it was exciting. But it was short-lived because they were pretty good that year, and so they ended up running up 50 points on us. So I was being on the kickoff return team. I got to play quite a bit. I always told people I about lettered that game by as many times as they kicked off, but that was an experience. And I remember one thing for the game that you always see those pictures of Owen Schmidt with the bloody forehead, where I think he bashed himself in the head. Oh shoot, what was his name?
Brian Bosworth.
Joe Jellick.
Oh,
Joe Jellick. He ran before the game. He rammed his head into a locker and tried to fire the team up. But so that was an experience. So anyway, that was my freshman year, and going into the spring, I think I maintained the position they put me on the punt team. So I was a right end on the punt team, and I think the last practice of spring, I was still there, and the defense, they ended up blocking the punt, and they thought it was my guy that blocked it, so they yanked me off the punt team. And, so I know Dave Van Hallinger, he was a graduate assistant then. He came to me later on. He had reviewed the films and saw that it wasn't me. He told me, it wasn't your guy that blocked the punt, but that didn't change anything. That fall, they'd taken me off the punt team, and I think we had one JV game that fall. We played against Salem, and that was one of the worst games in my career, because I think I stayed up about all night studying for a test, and I didn't eat anything, didn't have time to go eat anything for the game. So that fall was a pretty low experience. I think that when I came into that fall, I remember Nick Saban. He was when I came into. We didn't report till when school started, and he told me he was surprised to see me, because we didn't see eye to eye on things. I think he thought I was there just to be on the team, to be on the scout team, and I wanted to be on the field. I wanted to play, and so we didn't, and so we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things. But anyway, after that fall, then the coaching staff, they got let go after my sophomore year, and Don Nealon came in, and he was going to keep Saban on the staff, and but sometime during the winter, he got an opportunity to go to Ohio State as a defensive back coach. So he moved on, and it kind of worked out for him, and it kind of worked out for me that that happened. So Bill McConnell, he came in as a defensive back coach, and so going into spring, I remember one of the early spring practices that we were practicing a punt block, and one of the practices, I blocked 3 punts, and so I think Don Nealon, he saw that, and he thought, well, we want this guy on all the special teams. So starting at that point, they put me on every one of the special teams: kickoff return, and was a backup holder, which my hands are not the greatest hands, but Don Nealon, he came in and gave me a chance. They liked the way I hit, like I indicated earlier. That's hitting and tackling. That's what got me on the field, and that's what was getting me on the field then, was hitting and tackling, and so so Don Nealon, they gave me a full scholarship at that point, and my I was playing behind. I was the backup strong safety. They had brought in a junior college transfer, Lynn Murray, and he was a beast. And, he was probably 6'2", 6'3", went about 205 or so, and fast as could be, and he deserved to be on the field. He was a player, and I was fortunate enough to be his backup. So going into that fall, I was on the depth chart. I was playing all the special teams. I know a few things that I'd made my first long trip. We went to Colorado State, I think our second game. So I got to fly on the plane, and that year we played in Hawaii. And I think that might have been the first game I started. I think Lynn was hurt, and I think I actually started that game. But another thing, I was I think twice that fall, I was selected as special teams player of the week. One was against Temple. I think I caused a fumble on a kickoff, and then the other game, what reminded me of this, not too long ago, there was an article in the Parkersburg paper that mentioned some of the best college football players of all times, and one of them was Hugh Green from Pitt. And I had, being the right end on the punt team, I had to block him and escape from him to maintain the perimeter on the punt. So I ended up, don't remember having any knockdowns or anything like that against him. But I think at least one time they tried to block the punt, and what our job was on the right end, we had to protect the inside gap, but also spin around and get a piece of the outside guys to make him run wide enough to not get the punter. So it was a pretty good, difficult task to do, and I don't know if they still do it that way or not. But the coaches must have thought that I did a pretty good job against him to maintain the outside perimeter there and to block him. So that was pretty exciting to know that I went against Hugh Green, at least held my own anyway against him. So that was some memorable things from that fall. And then and going into my senior year, I know I pulled a hamstring right before I reported to fall camp, so that was hindering me a little bit. But I know they have the Iron Man Award, and I think Lynn Murray, the guy ahead of me, I think he won the Iron Man Award, and I think I was second, even with the pulled hamstring. So that was quite. I was like proud to be playing behind him. I'm trying to think what year it was. I think it was that year that I had an interception in a game. So I finally, I never had many interceptions in my career. And so I think near the end of that, I think it was Virginia Tech game. It could have been Virginia, but there was a ball was about this far off the ground, and I was able to dive in front of the receiver and get it. So that was one of the highlights of that year, is getting the interception. And then toward the end of the year, the coaches last few games, they decided to put in a nickel defense, and I was the nickel back. And I always thought that usually a nickel defense, they play in a passing situation, but we played it, and all situations. So I think it was kind of a precursor to the 3-3-5 is what they have used later on, but I may be mistaken. But that's what it looks like. But so the last few games, I don't know whose idea it was, why they did it, but that was, like I say, they would bring me in and I think take one of the outside linebackers out. If I may be mistaken about that, but I can't remember. But anyway, we seemed to work, and then we got the bowl bid, and I remember the last practice that we had before we left to go home for Christmas. I tore a little muscle in the back of my calf, and so when we came back, reported, and went to Atlanta, I wasn't running very well, and so I wondered what would happen. And I think they didn't make a big deal out of it. They didn't have a backup plan. I think they were just going to play a regular defense if I couldn't go. But fortunately, John Spiker, he found a way to tape me up on the day of the bowl game that I could run without it hindering me. So I was able to play that game without being affected. I think there's a few tackles I made that maybe I dove for them where I normally wouldn't have dove for them, but still got them down. But we it was that the award for most best defensive player, most valuable. It could have gone to a number of guys. Another number of guys made big plays in that game, and so I was just very happy that they happened to choose me for that award. So that was a great way to end the college career. So
Yeah, fantastic. And Mickey and I were able to go back into the time machine, so to speak, and we've got a video about a minute long of that tremendous day down in Atlanta in the 1981 Peach Bowl, and we're going to run it right now. And the nice thing about this is we've got a clip of Coach Nealon talking specifically about you and how they set up the defense, and then there are about 3 clips of you talking as well about the game. So let's cue that up, and then when we come back, we'll have a conversation.
Time we were playing a 4-spoke secondary, true strong safety, and we'd take Don Stemple either to the formation and bring him to Wayne's face, or take him away from the formation and chase him from behind. And the amazing thing, they were not prepared to handle that.
We did a lot of blitzing from the nickel pack, and not just me, but other backs as well, and linebackers. So I think it was just an extra wrinkle. I think we could have played a better game than we did that day. Dreams expected anything like that, and still gives me goosebumps right now to think about it. But and like I was saying before, I don't know why they decided to put it in, but I'm glad they did, and it made just made my dream come true.
How about that, Mick? That is a dream come true, isn't it?
It really is, I'll tell you. Hey, Don, you and I actually have a couple of things in common. You played in the 81 Peach Bowl. I played in the 1969 Peach Bowl. And both of our teams, I was about a decade before you, both of our teams set several Peach Bowl records. I think a number of them still stand today, both defensively and offensively. I wanted to explore a little bit your experience as a walk-on, going from a walk-on to the MVP of that, the defensive MVP of that Peach Bowl game. I know back in the '60s when I played, to be a walk-on, you had to have exceptional talent. I mean, given the coaches put most of their attention and most of their interest in the guys that they had money invested in, they had scholarships, and to catch a coach's eye is quite an achievement. I imagine particularly so when you're trying to get Nick Saban's eye and get some attention from him. Sound like you two may not have gotten along real well together anyway. But we had, I think about a half a dozen, maybe 10 walk-on guys on our team back in the '60s. It would rotate every year. One of which I'll never forget, a guy by the name of Danny Wilfong that Frank knows. And Danny actually runs a roofing company there in Parkersburg today. But he was just, he had several smaller state school offers in West Virginia. He played at at Parsons High School. And his dad said, no, you're going to go to the state university, WVU, and you're going to earn yourself a scholarship. Well, Danny was just, he was such a no quit, Katie bar the door, whatever it takes, I'm going to earn a scholarship. So I'm not sure that a listening audience has a real good appreciation for what that experience is like to try to get a coach's attention, try to get the whole staff's attention so that, you can earn yourself a scholarship. As a matter of fact, I wanted to ask you also if you can comment on that experience. We had an affectionate name for the scout team members when we played back in the '60s. They were called the Bombers, or the Bomb Squad. I'm wondering if that tradition was still around by the time you got there in the late '70s. And did you participate as part of the Bombers there for a while when you were a walk-on? And how did that play out for you as well?
Oh, I spent many practices on the bomb squad, but they didn't call it that then. But just the scout team, I think. But I spent 2 years doing that. But it took my licks, and I was a player that I didn't I had average talent, I think. But there's a lot of people more talented than what I was. But the thing that Coach McConnell, his nickname for me was Bullet Head. So, we Torpedo Head. But I know the way they taught tackling then is put your face in their numbers, and you're not allowed to do that now. So, but my head was always in there. That's why. And that wasn't illegal, spearing type. Just that's where your face was there. So I got I think that I got known for hard hitting is what got me the attention that got me a chance to play.
Yeah, one of the things that struck me as we were doing research for this, Don. And, what goes for individuals, walk on to, as Mickey said, the MVP of the defensive game, also applies to teams. Even though WVU was 8-3 going into that 1981 Peach Bowl against Florida, Florida was a 17.5-point favorite. And believe it or not, and I won't mention his name, the head coach of the University of Florida did not know the name Don Nehlen. Didn't know who the head coach was by name. It almost seems preposterous, but that was reported. And West Virginia came into that game and not only took it to them, but it's just almost by luck at the end that Florida scored a touchdown. And, I think it was 26-6 was the final score. And you guys just absolutely ran over them. And there was another walk-on who played in that game, a guy by the name of Paul Woodside.
Yeah.
We've had him on the show, who just did a terrific job. I think he had 4 field goals in that game. But, you know, we had Tim Agee on the show. He was a defensive back, had an interception. And I'm thinking about, we've had Curlin Beck on the show, Steve Newberry on the show. When I look at the names of that 81 team, Mickey Walzak, Todd Campbell is coming on the show soon, Willie Drury, Dennis Folks, Bill Legg, Darrell Talley. I mean, even though West Virginia was not a very successful team by record as the Signetti era went on, boy, that staff could really recruit players, and they blossomed under Don Nehlen, not unlike what happened in your era, Mickey, in terms of blossoming under Jim Carlin.
Yeah, you're exactly right there, Frank.
Don, if you could. Yeah.
You want to comment on it, Don?
Yeah. We had, there was a lot of talent held over from the Signetti years, and those were the guys that came through in the Peach Bowl and those other games that there were talent, but they Don Nehlen found a way to get them to gel and experience. You get a year of experience behind you, that always helps. So it was and there's a great bunch of guys. Love that I was able to be part of that group.
Yeah, fantastic. You were going to say, Mick?
Yeah, I think did I see recently that the 81 Peach Bowl team's going to have a reunion this fall? Have you heard anything about that?
I just saw that the other day. That I think it's going to be the Oklahoma State game, like September 26th or something like that. So I'm looking forward to see. Hopefully, we have a good turnout of all the former team.
Do you stay in touch with the guys you played with? You have lifelong contacts, friendships you made that are still intact today?
Yes, Steve Newberry and I, we stay more in contact than I do with other players. Steve still lives down where he grew up, and we get together a few times a year. And he just, I think yesterday, asked me to play, and he's owns a golf course down there, and asked me to play in their member guest golf tournament in July. So I've played in that last couple of years, and look forward to playing that again. So yeah, Steve's a great guy, and I'm so fortunate to have him as a friend. I got a couple other former players live here in town. I see every once in a while. Daryl Miller, he lives here in town, and Mike Dawson. I see those guys from time to time, and I see some of the other players at some of the games. I usually try to go to a couple games a year, so I run into some of the other guys at the varsity club tent. So you always
those Peach Bowl records that you set in the 81 Peach Bowl, do you recall what they were? Were they defensive or offensive?
I don't remember. I think Paul Woodside, I know he had the record. I think four field goals was
4 field goals.
I'm not up to date on what some of the other records are. I know we held I think we held Florida minus 30 yards rushing, I believe. I would think that might still stand, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I did some research. You held Florida 105 yards total for the game. It's fantastic effort. Fantastic effort. Also, you guys forced 6 turnovers in that game. That probably had a lot to do with you winning, huh?
Yeah, definitly.
Were you involved in any of those?
I was not. I think I was involved with, 2 sacks, and I think I had 2 other tackles for losses. And, but I didn't have any turnovers. I think Lynn Murray, I think he had an interception as well. But no turnovers that I was responsible for.
Yeah. Well,
any other? Sorry, Brent.
Nick, what a great memory when you think about where you started and where you ended. What a high! And I obviously that film did a great job. One of the stories, by the way, is that Paul Woodside, for people who know him, has a dry sense of humor. And he had some long field goals that day, too. And one of the stories, and it was told by Don Nealon, the referee came over in the second half and said, "You've got a kicker who's got a sense of humor." And he goes, "What are you talking about?" He said, after one of his long field goals, he went over to the referee and said, "We've got to stop meeting like this." And the ref started laughing because he was hitting the long field goals. What a guy who really didn't know a lot about kicking, was more intuitive. We've had him on the show, and then became really a scientist of kicking. And when you think about the holder, the snapper, I think Tim Agee was involved in that. Just an incredible situation. Before we run out of time, we want to talk about your life after Morgantown. And we understand you started to work for Mon Power. And then when they were bought out, you stayed with the same company. Is that correct? And was with them for a couple decades, correct?
Yeah, I never was aware of this till later on, that I guess there was a recession going on when I graduated in '82. So even though my degree was industrial engineering, and had a pretty good grade point average. It was over a 3.0, and but I didn't have a job when I left college, and so I went all summer without a job, and then I think it was late in August that one of my former baseball coaches, recreation baseball coaches, he worked for the power company in Parkersburg, and they had an opening in Fairmont. So he got in touch with me and had an interview, and so I got a job as an engineer there in Fairmont, and I worked there for Mon Power for 3.5 years, and then I got a job offer with down in Parkersburg in customer service, working with industrial and commercial customers. So it wasn't anything I ever looked forward to doing, is I guess working with the public. I'm not big on I'm just not that sociable guy. Like I didn't think I was anyway, and but I took the job, and it was the best job you could imagine for me, because I like working one-on-one with people. I like solving problems, and that's what my job was, working customer service and solving these customers' problems, what they had with electricity. So I worked for 23 years with Mon Power, and then I worked like both sides of the river there in Parkersburg, and American Electric Power ended up buying Mon Power's Ohio territory, and part of that deal was I went over with to the Ohio side with American Electric Power. So I worked with them for 14 years, just gradually working up to the bigger customers on the Ohio side. So and that worked out great for me as far as benefits and so forth. So just like in football, that I was so fortunate that to be in the right place, right time. Things worked out great for me. I think God had a plan for me. I don't know why, but I've even if, no matter what happens tomorrow, I've had a blessed life, and so I got 5 kids, my wife and I together, and I've got 5 granddaughters. So and they're awesome. So I just have a very blessed life.
Yeah. When we talked last night, Mick, he was babysitting. He was doing a good job, I could tell, with the coups and everything that was going on. But that's fantastic. Any final questions, Mick, for Don?
No, I can't think of any. Thanks for being on the show again. We really appreciate you. I'll tell you, altogether, you had like 37 years in the AEP, or predecessors to AEP. That's quite a tribute. You know, you're a great example of what a Mountaineer is. Once a Mountaineer, always a Mountaineer. And I hope one of those 5 kids or 5 grandkids show up being a Mountaineer one of these days also.
Well, all my kids, they all went to WU. So yeah, we've supported the university. So
Yeah. Well, you've done a great job doing that, as Mickey has done, and it's just it really is great. And we say this almost every week because it's true and it's recurring. We have so much fun meeting up with Mountaineer alumni and to hear their stories, and not only in terms of what they did on the field, but what they've done in life. And yours is, I think, especially a great story because as a person who really had to work very hard to prove himself. In fact, if you write a book, the title could be "My Football Career Started When Nick Saban Left," which would I think, Mick, that would sell some books. But it really did. I mean, it's interesting what would have happened if he had not taken that job from Ohio State and had stayed, and if you would have had the opportunities you did with a new coaching staff. But we'll never know. But the bottom line is things worked out pretty well for him, and they've worked out pretty well for you too.
yeah.
And again, we really appreciate it, Don. And we know the people watching both live and also in the archive are really going to enjoy this, enjoy meeting you, hearing your story. And as Mickey always says, right, it's a good day to be a Mountaineer. And I'm smiling to hear stories like this. And it puts a smile on your face. So thank you for being here.
Thank you all for having me.
Take care, Don. I'll see you in Morgantown sometime.
Boy, I'll tell you, that really was a great story. I mean, I honestly, I'm a fan, and I didn't know the full story until we started researching it. And the more you read, the more you say to yourself, "Wow!" And it's just it is. And the thing, Mick, I want to ask you about this: how unusual is it for a coaching staff to essentially, particularly in a bowl game? Now, it happened in the Peach Bowl with you too, so there is a parallel where you organize your scheme around a player who hasn't been a marquee player, and that player really delivers, as the running back did. You can talk about it, obviously, in the '69 Peach Bowl.
Yeah, in the '69 Peach Bowl was on the offensive side of the ball, where Bobby Bowden threw in that quirk that totally caught South Carolina off guard. It's a good thing that we went to the veer offense for that game. Had been running the standard T formation before that, or I formation, and really caught them by surprise. And then here in '81, going up against a very powerful Florida offense. By the way, that coach's name, I think, was Charlie Pell. Was a fellow that was coaching that.
Yeah, I can't
had to throw his name out there.
Well, and that's not just a throwaway line. The source of that story is Woody O'Hara, and he said it on air. And so you have to believe that he didn't know that, which is amazing to me because, before West Virginia, Don Nealon was with Bo Schembechler at Michigan. So, but you're absolutely correct. Yeah. But, go ahead.
The thing I read said he called him Don Nolan instead of Nealon. But he got his in the final analysis when the score was finally revealed. Also read, Frank, where their coach was so disappointed in Florida's performance in that game that they had planned and saying, they played on New Year's Eve in Atlanta, and they had planned on taking a couple of day vacation, letting the players hang out in Atlanta until the New Year's celebration was totally done with. And he got so upset he canceled all those plans, made him go home the next morning, took the charter jet back home the next morning. And then I also read where he took the game film canisters and in front of the whole team buried them in a corner in the end zone back on Florida's home field as a reminder of how terrible they had played that day.
Well,
But
if you think about a bowl team being a 17.5 point favorite, you don't see that very often. But they, again, this is one of the things that we know from sports over the years that you just have to prove yourself on the field. And West Virginia came in just like you guys did against South Carolina, and beat a good team. In fact, Eddie Williams, that record still holds
yeah,
for the
real
yards, still
fans.
over 200 yards. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
What are you
Well,
going to do?
Nealon did it on the defensive side of the ball, as you know, for that 81 Peach Bowl game. He came up with a scheme where they had 6 defensive backs. They went to that 5-3-3 that Don was talking about, which totally threw Florida, off their game, held them to 105 yards offensively, 6 turnovers. And what a great defensive effort. And if Florida hadn't scored, toward the end of the game, it would have been a shutout.
You're right. But it's the old baseball, hit them where they ain't. Just like in your 69 Peach Bowl, Bowden comes up with this with Carlin. We're going to go to the wishbone. And, South Carolina wasn't expecting that. They were expecting Jim Braxton, who was behemoth, obviously, as a running back. He played tight end the next year, and made All-American. But they were expecting him to carry the ball. And there's Eddie Williams, who gets over 200 yards in a monsoon situation. And so the element of surprise never goes out of style.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Never goes out of style. Well, let's talk baseball. Because we've got, boy, I'll tell you, we got let me put this up. We got a little summary here of WVU baseball here. Give you some updates. You and I were talking about this afternoon. And I think most fans are aware of this, but there may be some new information. I think everybody knows they're 35-12. Is it a 7-game winning streak now, Mick? I think it is.
Yeah, they swept
I think it's a
Kansas
7-game
State.
winning
They
streak.
beat Marshall, and then they swept Kansas. So they can do 10 in a row
19-8
here.
in the yeah. Go ahead. Oh,
I was going to say they might do 10 in a row here.
Went into Lawrence 4 games back, and now they're 1 game back. KU is playing BYU in Utah this weekend. The national rank is to number 9 now. That is a tremendous feather in the cap to be number 9, top 10. What a tremendous thing that is for not only the team, but also for the coaching staff. Ren Baker has hit another home run, using a baseball metaphor, by elevating Steve Saban's to the head coaching job. He really has a really good group of assistant coaches and support staff. KU, which was, I think, number 7, has dropped down to number 14. Now, here's the deal. You can see the difference between the ranking number 9 and the RPI. It's the RPI that has a lot more weight. They're number 18. The top 16 get to host first-round regionals, and that's what we're angling for this weekend, as well as doing well in the Big 12 tournament. And there are all kinds of projections. This one's from USA Today. They're a 19 seed, so they're one below their RPI. And they're projecting, at least USA Today is, for them to be in the Hattiesburg Regional, with Southern Miss getting that home regional. They're a very good team. I think they're ranked just above West Virginia, number 8 this week. And then WVU is number 2 in that regional projection. UT San Antonio, number 3, and then Campbell, number 4. And if that holds true, which it probably won't, Southern Miss would play the first game against Campbell, and we would play San Antonio. But it all comes down to how we do this weekend, and also how we do in the Big 12 tournament. Odds are that the winner of the the Big 12 tournament, assuming it's Arizona State, WVU, Kansas, those teams in particular probably will get a home regional.
I would certainly hope so. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I feel really good about the series this weekend. How about you?
Oh, absolutely. I think that when you think about the excitement the team has generated, I watched a bit, you may have too, Steve Saban's weekly interview, which
Yeah.
they're different interviews from the football and basketball coaches, tend to be longer, and they're virtual, not in person. And you can tell he is extremely thoughtful, has surrounded himself with not only a great set of field coaches, but also support staff in terms of the science of the game, nutrition, etc. And it really comes. And one of the things that he talked about, which I thought was, and I have some notes here, I thought were really interesting. He said, they kept on asking him, where would you rate this group? He said, this is the best in terms of talent and playmaking that he's ever had. I mean, when you look at the two starters, Maxiel and also you got Chance and Cole.
Oh,
In college baseball, these guys have their ERA is 2, Mickey. They're right
I know.
around 2.
I was looking at that, Frank. I like the way he set up the pitching lineup for this series. He's not going with Yale in the first game. He's starting Corrin, and that guy's third in the Big 12 in ERAs at a 2.96. And then on Friday night, he's pitching Maxiel, and he's leading the Big 12, 2.04 ERA, and then finish up with Cole on Saturday, who's got a 2.71 ERA, and he got 1, 2, 3 leaders in the Big 12 in ERAs going up to pitch this weekend. The other thing, real impressive, when you look at their records, those 3 guys are combined 19-2 for the season. So I just hope they keep the momentum going that they've had the last 7 games.
Yeah, I mean it's and obviously the crowd is going to be really behind him. And as you and I talked about this afternoon, TCU has a lot of talent, but they have not. Let's put the profile up here first, and then we'll do the comparisons. They were in the top 25 early on because of the strength of their schedule. I mean, unlike WVU when they did their Southern swing, played mid-majors. Look at that early schedule. They play Vandy in Arkansas in the SEC. They won both of those games. They played Oklahoma also in the SEC, lost that game. They played the number 1 team in the country, UCLA, lost all of those games. But again, they're playing UCLA. They won 2 out of 3 at Tulane. And they played Kansas in a non-league game, won that. But they've been up and down as you can see in the Big 12, they're 16-11, even though the overall record is very much pretty close to WVU, especially on the win side, not on the loss side. But they lost twice to Arizona State, which is a contender. They lost to Arizona, which is not twice, but they lost a single game to Arizona. They were good last year. They're not very good this year. UCF is another good team. They swept Tech. They swept Houston, which is not a good team. I don't think Houston's going to make the Big 12 tournament. Utah is not a good team. I don't think they're going to make it either. And then they were swept by Oklahoma State. So this is the key line there, Mickey. I think they're 7-11 away, although they've won their last 3, and in the last 10 they're 7-3. But I keep on looking at that 7-11 record when they're not playing at home.
Yeah, and our home record, I'm not sure what it is, Frank. Do you happen to know this year?
I looked at it. Why don't you go ahead and talk, and I can look it up here. I was going to put it down, and I didn't. I don't think I did. No, I don't have it on the next one. So let me just look it up. But go ahead.
Well, yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention was on the offensive side. I consider pitching to be the defensive side of baseball, and of course, the hitting on the offensive side. You got Gavin Kelly, who's now hitting 388 for the year. He's peaking
Yeah.
just at the right time. This team hasn't hit a whole lot of home runs this year, but they have hit 12 in the last 6 games. So they seem to be getting the power bats going here toward the end of the season. I mean, we got everything just going in our favor, I think. 7-game win streak. I don't think anybody thought 2 weeks ago that we could finish out the year 9-1 or 10-2 or 10-0 and have a chance of actually winning the regular season Big 12, right? We win one more game this weekend than Kansas does, and we beat them to win the regular season Big 12. Is that correct?
That's
I
right.
believe it is. That's right, isn't it?
We're 1 game behind. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So if
that's
we
right.
win one more,
We're
we have to win one more game than they
Go
do.
ahead. And they not only have to play on the road against BYU, namely Kansas, but they've got that time zone difference of playing out there. By the way, the answer to your question is WVU is 14-5 at home. And also, what's interesting about that, WVU is a good road team, much better than TCU. So, it's easy to say this, being a homer as we are, but Cincinnati is a good club. That was a tough series in Cincinnati. We lost 2 out of 3, but I think West Virginia is the best team in the Big 12 by a lion's share. And I don't mean this negatively, but and you and I talked about this a bit. Greg and I have talked about it. Kansas did not look like a team that had won 20 Big 12 games and was number 1 in the conference by a wide margin and was in the top 10. They just didn't look like it.
No. I mean, the Mountaineers look much, much more balanced in terms of pitching, hitting, speed on the base paths. Really impressive, and the aggressiveness of the coach. I mean, that double steal was that in for the extra run in game 2, I believe it was. He's out there taking every chance he can. And you mentioned his virtual press conference. I get an email just about every week from him also. If you're part of the varsity club, I think you're on the email list. And he's just explains everything in a fashion that, the non-expert baseball fan can appreciate what's going on.
That's right. That's right. During his, just to follow up what you were saying on the press conference today, he said he believes that Guzman is the fastest player in college baseball. And that, he said, when you think about him, he's naturally an outfielder playing first base. He's a tremendous defensive first baseman. And as you mentioned, incredibly tough on the base path as a stealer. Love those double steals. And there have been steals of home plate several times. And he said something that I hadn't thought about. He said the X factor is Tyrus Hall at third base. He's starting to come around hitting, but he said, boy, he's just a tremendous fielder and gets a lot of balls that other third basemen would not get. And it's good to see Reese Bassinger come back from a rough, I think it was in game 3. I think he gave up 5 runs in that comeback against Cincinnati on the road. And as you mentioned, Ian Korn is just doing great. Here's a comparison between WVU and TCU. Should be coming up. There it is. And you can see just what you were saying. There are the data that in batting, WVU is 3rd in the league. TCU is 11th, and there are 14 teams. WVU has 130 more hits, 80 more runs than TCU. And you mentioned Kelly, number 3 in the league, Schoenfeld, number 6, both batting over 350. And their best hitters to watch, and that's why I've got them in the bold there. Cole Kramer is hitting 322. Chase Brunson, 305. They're good. So those are the guys we've got to watch for. Those are the guys with the highest average. And then, as you mentioned, in pitching, my God, WVU is number one with a, and I put the I put the decimal point in the wrong place. The staff has a 4.00 ERA, whereas TCU, that's their strength. Number 4 in the conference, 5.32. But we already mentioned it. Those two guys are just tremendous.
Oh yeah.
Yale and Chanson. That's Cole Chanson, not Chasen.
Right.
And then Zach Edwards is the best that they have. And again, I can't get that decimal point in the right place. It's 3.49, not 349. But look, 5-0 with 7 saves, and Lance Davis has 13 starts, and he's 4.188. So, and WVU is number 1 in fielding as well, and TCU is number 11. So, at least on paper, playing at home, WVU has to have the advantage. But the Horned Frogs have played a tough schedule. They have a tremendous amount of talent, good coaching staff. We're just going to have to watch, right? And we will be.
Yeah, and when you say it, at least on paper, that's a cautionary comment you always want to make, because you still have to go out and play the game. The 81 Peach Bowl was a great example of that. Ford is favored by 17.5. Mountaineers beat them by 20. So on any given day,
that's right.
Anything can happen. So the proof is in the pudding. ESPN Plus again this weekend. Do you know, Frank? Are they televised?
That's right. All the games,
Okay.
All games will be on ESPN Plus. And if I remember correctly, the Thursday, and again, it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, not a
Right.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I think
Right.
that's across the league, because then they've got to do a pirouette and go to Arizona for the Big 12 tournament. But and you know what? Again, a comparison. I hate to do this. Boy, that team on ESPN that we have, the West Virginia broadcasts, are just what a fantastic crew they are. And compared to the others, they're just especially good. And it's just, to me, it is just so rewarding to be able to see a team that not only is the best in the Big 12, but is really nationally competitive, because this is just every Mountaineer fan is hoping for, is we've gone to the super regionals the last 2 years. We dropped it to the home team last year when we went down to LSU, had that great victory in the regionals against Clemson. It would be so great to go to Omaha and be one of those teams in the World Series. And I know if that happens, a lot of Mountaineers will be getting tickets and traveling to Nebraska.
Well, just ecstatic if that turns out to be the case. Would really put a feather in our cap.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's great having you again, Mickey, and it's too bad that our compadre Greg is not with us tonight, but I know he'll be with us next week, and talking baseball, and also having a great guest in Don Stemple, and talking about the subtitle of our show is Then and Now, and that's what we've done tonight. So it's unusual. We're not talking about football, but we'll get back to it soon. But tonight it was, current Mountaineer team, that is. But right now we're just so excited about this baseball team. And next week, let me put this up. Our guest next week, we're going to move up a decade or two with another great defensive back. Didn't wear 35, he wore 41. Eric Wicks, and he was just such a force back in the early part of this century. And I know he'll have comments about Rich Rod playing for him and what he sees in the current team. But next week, Darren will be back, so we'll also be simulcast on the New River Network, as well as we are tonight, the voice of college football. We look forward to having a good conversation with Eric.
Yep, looking forward to getting Darren and Greg back next week. And let's go Mountaineers. Big weekend coming up.
Absolutely. Mickey and I would like to thank all of you for watching live, and those of you who may watch in the archive. We, as you can tell, we enjoy doing these shows and bringing these guests to you, and also our spin on what's happening currently in Mountaineer sports. So for Mickey Plumley, this is Frank Fear and Greg Christ, and our good friend Mark Parsons, who does a great job lining up guests for us. Enjoy the games this weekend, and we'll see you next Wednesday, 7 o'clock on Mountaineer Locker Room.